Today, we are becoming obsessed with becoming, and you'll see what I mean in a minute because today's guest is somebody who is truly iconic, truly knows how to curate a brand that makes you feel something, feel belonging, and feel welcome. I'm so excited to introduce Jen, who is the founder of Becoming Iconic, a full-service brand for entrepreneurs to scale their businesses, and she's the editor-in-chief of Iconic magazine. She's a mom of 4 kids, and she has been building businesses and babies for the last 2 decades, and it's resulted in 9 figures in sales for herself and her clients. But Jen, you're not just about big revenue, you're about big profits and creating big space to live your life. So I'm excited to get into all of that. Welcome to Becoming Obsessed.
Oh my goodness, thank you. Hi, I'm so grateful to be here. Hello to all the listeners. Thank you for having me. Really looking forward to our conversation.
I want to just get started with your brand. And I know Becoming Obsessed, often people are like, oh, obsessed, what does this mean? They have kind of a notion of what it means before listening. Their perception might change. Where did Becoming Iconic come from? And what does iconic mean to you?
It's such a good opener because this really does set the stage for who I am and really how far I've journeyed. So for the longest time, and I actually wish I could remember the point in my life where I started this prayer, but we're going back like years and years, a young Jen, I would wake up and pray to improve in some way, shape, or form. That would be the very first thought in my mind as I opened my eyes. God, just let me be better in some way, shape, or form today than I was yesterday. And that pursuit has been probably one of the best things in my entire life when it comes to success in my own personal growth and development, my leadership, compassion, care for others, relationships, business. It really has sprinkled itself and peppered itself throughout my whole life. And when I was pivoting out of an 8-figure wellness brand into really wanting to have a larger conversation, I had built a massive personal brand in the wellness beauty space. I just felt like I wanted to talk about more than just wellness and beauty at that point in my life. It was also the call to start a company versus a personal brand. This is going back to about 2018. And the word icon and iconic kept dropping in. And I was very resistant to it, where some of the people listening in might even feel resistant to it. It's like, who am I to declare iconic? You know, that humility that we have. What does that mean? It could have a negative connotation to it if we allowed it. There's some narratives around that word. And I was definitely feeling those narratives. I wasn't embodying iconic in any way, shape, or form, other than obviously I've had success. And I went to a mastermind and somebody said to me, it's like you teach somebody to become. And I was like, ooh, if I married the pursuit that is like literally my daily practice of becoming, and really ultimately, what is iconic? Iconic is that fulfillment of being and becoming the best version of ourselves, despite what we do, quote unquote, and you know, what our families look like, etc. I can really sink into this. And it was that spark that named the company Becoming Iconic, because the meaning behind it for me is that we all, a part of this community, have the same pursuit, idea, and real desire to become the fullest version of ourselves, to fully express every last drop of potential in this lifetime. And that is what gets me out of bed every single morning. And I know my community shares the same sentiment.
That's amazing. I love this story too, because one, there's a part of me that's, I want to be iconic. Am I allowed to be iconic? What does it take to be iconic? And there's so much weight behind this word that we throw around and don't think about that in depth. But it's also the journey of allowing, kind of being the conduit for a company and for a movement. And it's funny because if you ever asked me what I would name a podcast, probably not Becoming Obsessed. That name is its own thing that could only be this podcast and is something that happened to me, but it's not something that I didn't use obsession a lot. I would never describe what I do as obsessed, but it's what I wanted people to feel about themselves in their life. It's like, I want you to wake up and love it. I want you to be, like you said, the best version of who you are, regardless of what that looks like. And Jen, you do such an incredible job of not only showing up yourself and giving us so much insight, especially through the magazine, into what lights you up, but also highlighting other women and their voices and their stories. And I know it can look like from the outside looking in, you have this rock star brand and online presence, and it really can look iconic and like you have it all and you have it all together. But that's really not the story that most of us have. What is it like behind the scenes? What is it like for you personally to live out that iconic life?
I'm going to answer that question, but I want to go back to obsessed and iconic and the through line of that. I actually believe anybody who is living their full purpose, and purpose, I say lightly because that's a whole other conversation, but anybody who's waking up on purpose, let's say it that way, there is a common characteristic amongst us all, and that is an obsession, a deep-rooted obsession to love this life and create as much as we can. And isn't it interesting that both iconic and obsessed or obsession could have a negative swing to it if you wanted it to and if you allowed it to, yet it can be powerful if you take it by the reins and decide to live your life like that every single day. So I really appreciate that story because it feels very familiar. And then to answer your question about having it all, and it looks like I have it all, with the idea of maybe ruffling some feathers, I'm just going to own it. I really do. I'm just going to own it. And audacity is a part of our permission as women to use our voices. And I can firmly say with everything in me, I live a life where I truly feel like I have it all. I've designed something so exquisite that I don't need to escape from. I don't need to go on vacation to take a break. My everyday feels so beautiful. However, in beauty, there's contradiction. They say the rainbow follows the storm, like it's got to rain to have a rainbow, and every day has a challenge in itself. But I really welcome that in my life because how dare I say, make me in some way better than I was yesterday, but don't make it uncomfortable and don't make me have to learn any lessons. Make this really easy on me. Like, that's naive. That's just not the way it's going to go. So I feel like pressure, I feel like challenge is such a privilege in this lifetime. So I really do look at my life as not perfect because I don't even know if there's such a thing, but I definitely know it's perfectly designed, meaning the challenge that I have today is to hone me into the version that I need to become tomorrow to get me closer to my dreams that I'm still acquiring and gravitating towards. So having it all, to me, is the acceptance of deep, deep gratitude for what is, married with this burn in your belly for more, because isn't that fun as women to actually talk about the fact that we would desire and want more for ourselves? Oh, sign me up. And knowing that those two things get to coexist, the deep gratitude for what is while also desiring more. And that is having it all. Now, life with my kids and my family and running two companies and having a team, there's a lot of complexities, which I'm happy to share if you'd like me to.
Yeah, I actually would like to get into that a little bit more of how do you start to manage it all. But what you're saying to me is the core of becoming obsessed as well, is I want people to live a life they love. And it starts with loving the life you already live so that you can see the difference between, you know what, this job, this career, this business relationship isn't serving me compared to I'm going to complain about anything I have and I am not going to enjoy the things that I've been striving for. And that's what I love about your story is that's who I want to talk to on this podcast. People who are unapologetically saying, yes, I have made a life I love. That doesn't mean it's not freaking hard, right, but I love it. And so I appreciate that you had the audacity to say it and live it and be another example on the days where it feels harder and on the days where you're like, gosh, am I allowed to want more? I should be grateful. Yes, and both. And seeing and talking about it together is really powerful. And it helps me stay on that path.
Yeah. And I thank you so much for reflecting that back. And an important story I could tell is when I had that 8-figure wellness brand. I had worked that from the ground up. I mean, I had babies, like little babies, when I found out about entrepreneurship. I mean, I was so new to this, but I'd given up my corporate career because I didn't believe as a woman I could do both. I bought into the story that you had to choose to be a great mom or you had to choose a career. Those two things didn't get to coexist. And because I was young, naive, and I didn't have a voice of my own, I hadn't gone into personal growth and development, I left my corporate career that I loved. I loved my job. It wasn't one of those things where I was like, yes, I get to leave and be home. It was a very difficult decision for me because I loved what I did. But it was also an easy decision for me because I had these two precious faces looking at me, and to spend time with them the way I was able to was an incredible gift in my life. Yet I remember growing this business and finding entrepreneurship and really understanding that I get the best of both worlds. I could be present at home. I could be present with my goals. Those two things get to dance and be in harmony. So that's a big message of mine because I did it. But I remember when I reached this like literal pinnacle of success, what everybody aspires to have, the money, the trips, the things, the accolades, the awards, the people, the clients. It was absolutely one of the most difficult decisions to pivot out of that because there was this feeling of, am I greedy? Like, how could I want more? There are people like lining up to learn from me to build what it is that I just built. That was back in the day where business coaching was free. Like, we didn't charge back then. It was just literally fill a hotel room and you shared all your trade secrets. And then all of a sudden we were able to grow a business and a brand out of that. So that was cool. But back in the day before social media, this was a belly to belly. I was really mentoring women to do what I was doing. And to pivot from that was pretty audacious as well, because you would have that crossroads of, I should be grateful. This is everything I've ever dreamed of and more. But yet, I also know I want to have a bigger conversation. There's more to me. So just wanted to bring that up as you were discussing, pivoting and having the more and having this duality in life. It comes up so often for us, but how we lead ourselves through this is so important for us as women to know that wanting and desiring more doesn't make us selfish, doesn't mean we're not in gratitude for the life we already have. It is, again, that pursuit that I believe is so powerful in our lives versus settling. Like, how many women listening to this think, well, I went to school and I got the degree and I got the corporate job and I'm climbing the ladder. It's what I always dreamed of. But yet I actually think I really want to do this thing, or I want to move to a different state, or fill in the blank for yourself. And you're not giving yourself permission because you think it was supposed to feel better at this point. The point of our lives is constant evolution and growth over our lifetime. And so giving ourselves more permission to allow that to unravel and unfold is really ultimately what's going to lead to that beautiful life that you described.
And this is so common among us, and it's really not normalized. It's really not talked about. But on this podcast, so many guests will say, I published a book. I made the biggest accomplishment in my life. And on the other side was some sadness, was some grief, was some questioning. And like you're saying, it's so much the pursuit and the journey and the desire for more, whatever that more is, whatever that something is. That's what got you through school. That's what got you to build your first business. And now we've climbed the hill. And if we're hiking, I never stay on the one mountaintop. I go down and I do it again because I enjoy going up, seeing the view, coming back down, resting a little bit and doing it again. And so building a business, and I think maybe with men, this is a little bit more common or acceptable. It's, you build a business, you sell it, you move on to the next one. And we haven't had a lot of conversation as women around it. I think there's more now, and I love it because you don't have to build a business that is equated to your identity. You can build a thing that does have so much of you in it and sell it and shut it down and exit and build something new, or just let it evolve with you.
Yeah, you're not a tree. Move. I mean, this is the thing. And it sounds simpler than it is. And I understand that. And truth be told, that decision wasn't just internally difficult, but I was shamed and ridiculed. There were women who had looked at me and put me on a pedestal of like, you have this success that I desire. And how dare you say that's not enough for you and pivot? Like I ruffled a lot of feathers, and that was really surprising. I actually didn't expect that. Women were saying, oh, she wasn't as successful as she said she was. Like they were coming up with all these excuses, and there was a lot of mean girl energy in it as well. But I remember having to learn a lot of leadership lessons and life lessons through that experience of they had a picture of me. They had an image of me that I no longer fit. And it really challenged them. Because if you think about it as women, we really are groomed to be neat and tidy and easy and not simple. That's probably not the right word, but let's just call it easygoing. And the more we're that way, the more we are applauded and, oh, look at her. She's so nice.
It's so digestible. Like we're so easy for people to be like, oh, okay, good job sitting there in the corner.
One of the best lessons I learned was nice is the energetic match to minimum wage. Nice is wanting to people please. Nice is I care more about what you think of me than what I think of myself. And that really challenged me through that pivot because I was a nice girl and I am a kind woman, but kindness and nice are two different things. And I've learned that. And so that was a difficult transition as well. And I think it's worth talking because you're right. Not a lot of people talk and discuss these things of pivoting at the height of your career. That's not normal. And then what are those repercussions, not only internally, the things that you have to walk through and sort, but then also people's perceptions and misconceptions about you and how you have to navigate those things as well. That was one of the biggest turning points for me in leadership was that I choose myself. It doesn't mean that I don't choose you. That's an important point. Like choosing myself doesn't mean I don't care about you, doesn't mean I don't appreciate you, doesn't mean I hold space for you, but I choose me too. And that was an incredible journey. And really what was the catalyst for becoming iconic, reaching 7 figures in record time was because the ones that criticized are still where they are. And that's the truth. The ones who applauded, the ones who were inspired came along and were my biggest advocates and champions. So women, empowering women is one of the greatest things. And that's why I love this podcast so much, because when we empower each other, that snowballs into something really profound. We are better together than we are separate. And I really am so delighted to see women doing more and more and more of that.
You had I think an email, it might have been in the magazine as well, that was talking about collaboration over competition. I can't even say the word. I don't like it anymore, right? But it is. I grew up when it was still women being pitted against women. And it was something that I was on the edge of not giving into and not relating to it. And luckily, I feel like the last decade, the last 5 years, the conversation has shifted so much into there is abundance. There's more than enough for all of us, and we all kind of can show up in our own way. But it is a very intentional decision. And being a girl's girl doesn't mean that somebody else's success or failure doesn't trigger you or make you feel some type of way or jealousy. But I know for me, when I do have that really gut feeling about somebody, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of jealous, or I wish. It's such a signal of like, okay, so let me cheer them on and be their biggest cheerleader so I can learn, so I can just be in the energy, because you are the 5 people you're around. And so how do we create even more platforms for their voices to get even louder instead of feeling that tension of, oh, I wish I could have what they have. Maybe you can. Maybe that is what you want and go after it, but it's not going to work from a place of, resentment. That's not going to feel good to build something from that place.
You're so right. It's the evidence. Thank you for being the evidence that's possible. Thank you for being the evidence that I can too. I don't believe God has favorites, and I don't believe there's extras. So it wasn't like God said, okay, Jen, you're going to have massive success in the online space and grow this massive business. But, Sally, you over there, not so much. I'm not expecting much from you. Like that, when we think about it, it's so ridiculous. And we think that someone else's success means that we're going to have less, that there's only a certain amount, like a piece of the pie. And if you don't get a piece, then it's going to be gone. It's very much like money. It's infinite. And so if we can see somebody's success as the evidence of what is possible, let that be kerosene on your fire, not the water. Don't dim down because, oh, Sally over there is having success. Instead, be like, Sally's having success. Interesting. I've been hearing people saying it's slower, it's harder, there's more struggle, but she's not having that. So thanks for being the evidence that right now people are thriving. And I'm going to use that as the energy booster for myself to invite that into my life too. Never in comparison, because it'll never be the same, but I can have what you have. I believe that in my bones. You couldn't shake that out of me. Nobody would be able to argue it otherwise with me. I believe abundance is our birthright. I believe we are all here to have a pleasure-soaked life. It's the choices we make consistently that either move us towards that feeling or away. And so radical personal responsibility isn't easy. It's like not easy to look in the mirror and be like, I'm responsible for the way I feel, or I'm responsible for the outcome. Really easy to blame and justify. But when we can take that ownership, again, these are like secret ingredients to success. People talk about it and people have a voice around it, but are you actually doing that in your life? Are you actually leading that in your life? Because those are two different things.
Well, that's one reason I love being in your world. And I have been following you on Instagram and your magazine and your newsletter since I first heard about you, because I can see the fruit of you believing those things in the brands and the companies that you've built and the way that you lift other women up. And I want to know a little bit more of behind the scenes, because you have it all, but you have your version of it all. And that probably means that you've said no to a lot of things. And I know you have the summer series, the summer edit going on your podcast right now. And you were talking about needing to be so specific about what moves the needle and not just trying everything and posting on social media all the time to see what works, but trying to get more strategic, having more depth, more meaning. How? Literally, that's going to be my question, Jen. How? How do we do this?
Oh, and the answer is not going to feel maybe the best for people because it's so simple, but I would be not telling the truth otherwise. So the thing is, I say yes a lot. I know the story is to have success, you say no to a lot of things. I say yes to a lot of things. One of the best books I ever read was The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. She's the writer for Grey's Anatomy. It's a great book. And I loved it because it was so different than what everybody else was saying. Everybody else saying, say no to things, really go in. She was saying something radically different. Say yes to things, get in rooms, experience. And that really spoke to my spirit. So I am a yes girl to most things. But where I say no is in my discipline. So yes to adventure, experience. You want me to meet you for a coffee and get to yes, I'll do those things. I mean, accordingly. I'm not saying yes to everybody on the internet, but accordingly. And I also say no to the things that distract me from who I'm becoming. So the no's for me are, I am absolutely meticulous about the way I am on social media. I don't scroll. I don't get caught in that rabbit hole because I'm watching everybody else build a perfectly great living while I'm wasting my precious time. Time is our best, most precious commodity, more than money. And I really love time freedom. I really love feeling spaciousness in my life. And I want to invite as much as that as I can in, because as a mom of four with two companies and a team, I don't have a lot of space and time. That's the truth. So I share a couple of things sporadically, but I'll pull it together in this. I curate my days from the moment my eyes open until the moment my eyes go closed. That is not sexy for a lot of people to hear. I think a lot of people expect that time freedom means I sit at the beach, I sip Mai Tais, and my business just runs itself. Well, I signed up for entrepreneurship to be a CEO and a founder, an editor-in-chief, a mom. None of those things really do marry into this idea that I put my feet up and drink Mai Tais at the beach. I'm in the deep end with all those things because that is the requirement of all of those things. So time freedom to me means that I get to curate the way I design my days, the way I move through my days. And that was medicine for me when I actually had that realization, because I was told you build a business to go to the beach. That was the dream when I started entrepreneur.
4-hour work week.
But I remember saying to my mentor once, I was growing and I was really in momentum. I said, when do you get to go to the beach? And she's, you never really go to the beach. We just say that because, it sounds great. And I remember feeling so disappointed and so lied to, if I could be honest with you, because I actually really thought that was the dream. So I had to have a come to Jesus with time freedom and what that actually meant and what it meant for me, and where I feel like the sexy part of it is nobody tells me how I design my days. If one of my kids are sick and they need me, I'm able to reschedule my day. It's the flexibility of time that I really have come to appreciate. So my days are not full of white space. My days don't have a lot of sipping Mai Tais, but that's out of choice. And there's a lot of things I could discuss in that if you want to get really tactical around, every day has a theme and a focus and an intention. Everything has its space. My kids, like my presence is one of my key values and characteristics is giving presence. I am fully present with you right now. Like Teresa, I'm not thinking about my business, my magazine, this is and that. And that has been such an incredible attribute to peace in my life. Of when I'm with the thing or the person or the task, I'm with it. And then I move to the next, and then I move to the next. And that is by being highly, highly disciplined, saying no to the things that pull me away from that discipline.
I want to know within the structure of your day, how much time are you building in that falls into self-care, play, rest, these kind of moments of breathing or pause? Because that's something for me, I will schedule my days out and be like, okay, I usually am scheduling my days when I have so much to do that I need to keep myself on top of it. Like yesterday's a great example. I wanted today to be free from thinking about work. I have this time with you. So yesterday it was like, okay, we've actually got to knock stuff out. And then I knew once so much was knocked out, I knew exactly where I was on everything. Then I could just rest and be like, I went for a walk and I am exhausted. There's 2 things left on this to-do list. They're moving to Wednesday and that's okay. And I allowed that space. And I'm curious what that looks like for you. How are you recharging?
So I'm an introvert. And so recharging for me comes through solitude. So there's a couple of things that pop up that I think would be really great takeaways. Number one is I really love going for a walk in the mornings. I had to learn to almost stack things in my day and in my life, because if I don't stack, there's not room for everything. So it's just being very honest. So I stack my education and my learning in the mornings. I stick a podcast in my ears. I'm listening to a mentor, something that is building me, growing me, stretching me in the mornings. I put on my ankle weights and I boogie up and down the street with my dog. So that's wonderful. If it's raining, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't move my body. And people who are in the wellness space, I was in the wellness space, I hear you screaming, but this is the reality. I'm not going to lie to anybody and say that I can fit it all in and everything. It's just some days it doesn't fit in, but I really do aspire to start my day that way because my whole day unfolds just so differently. My energy is so clean after doing that. But what I've had to do is chunk things. So in order to have solitude, I developed in my schedule that Fridays are my self-care days. So where some people want to make sure they have their workout every single day, that doesn't always work for me. And so rather than feeling like I'm constantly disappointing myself or canceling on myself and feeling like I'm failing, I had to kind of condense it. So Fridays, I wake up, and this is one of my best practices I could teach you. Like my clients savor this. I wake up on Fridays and I say to myself, I love romancing myself. It's like, what do you feel like today, Jen? What do you feel like? What's going to make you feel good? Wouldn't we love somebody to roll over and say that to us on a Friday morning? Whatever you want, we're going to do it. And rather than wait for someone to do that for me or want somebody to do that for me, I do that for myself, and I answer, I respond. So sometimes it's like, you know what? We really need to clean up the task list. Let's hammer the things that are dragging and lagging out so that we have clear space for the weekend. Sometimes it's, let's just go to the spa today and really relish in self-care and luxury. Sometimes it's, let's binge a Netflix series and eat ice cream out of the container. Like I really respond to my spirit and what right now is going to recharge us. So that's my Fridays. And it has been my best practice for many, many years. I don't tend to work. If I do, I really do make sure it's at the front end of the day and then really take myself on a date. And again, sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's, I want to go shopping. It doesn't matter. I'm responding to that person. And it's actually done a lot of inner child healing for me because that adventure, that playfulness, hearing myself, responding to my own voice and feelings has been so healing in so many ways.
I love it. You plan the unstructured time in. You plan for it so you have the space for it so you can prioritize yourself. And to me, play is so important, but again, I don't have the one thing that I'm like, okay, every week I'm going to do this one thing. I am very much like, you know what? I want to go thrifting or I want to binge a show. And I love the way you're framing this and the way you've set it up to be able to follow how you feel and just have that time with yourself to really recharge and check in and do and become what you need to.
Yeah,
that day.
it's luxury. That to me is absolute luxury, to be able to listen to myself and respond and do what it is my heart desires that day, whether it's put my feet in the grass or go to the spa. Like, luxury to me doesn't have a price tag. Luxury for me is that feeling of, ooh, I just feel so good and delicious right now. Another thing that I do, and I think this is worth sharing because this can have some controversy, I actually book myself for a solo staycation every quarter as well. So a lot of moms listening in, and even women in relationships, I've had people flood my DMs being like, I could never, like, how does your husband feel being home with the kids? Or I feel guilty, or, you're spending that money, because I don't go to just any hotel. I'm going to my favorite hotels, ordering my favorite room service, putting on the plush robe, do not disturb. And again, answering myself, I just came off of one 2 weeks ago, and I went because that is how I recharge. This is answering and being truthful to who I am. Solitude is an essential component to me being my best for my family and my businesses. My best ideas come through quiet, not work. And so I went on this staycation, and the first night I was like, I feel like something delicious. I took myself to a beautiful restaurant. I sat down. I have no qualms about eating alone and being alone. No, like some people.
Oh, I love it.
Love it. You know what you hear? You know the people watching you can do? It is absolutely breathtaking and astonishing all at the same time. So I had this delicious meal. I went for a walk, went back to my room, watched a show, went to bed when I wanted to, woke up when I wanted to, treated myself to breakfast, went to a spa, sat by the pool and had a cocktail. Like, I love my own company because I know who I am on the other side of giving myself that space and time. So some of you listening in who are true introverts, you will appreciate this. Those of you who are extroverts are probably like squeamish, thinking, what? I want to be with my girlfriends, but figure out what that is for you. For me, this is what my answer, my solitude, my cup runneth over after a time like that. But that's another best practice that I really encourage people that I work with to do for themselves. And again, like, my family benefits, my business benefits, my bank account benefits, my mind and spirit benefits. There's no take in that other than beautiful, beautiful version of myself on the other side.
And what you're saying, where some days it is the girls' trip and sometimes it is the solo trip, and giving yourself the space to listen to that. But you just said a couple words there, your bank account. And Jen, I know you are a woman who will talk about money. So I want to talk about money, especially you've had in the magazine and on Instagram lately, conversations about profit and revenue. And we can build these huge companies, but are we actually bringing money into our bank account, our pocket? Are we overworked for those dollars, or are we creating systems for them? I don't have a specific question. I just want to soak in your knowledge, your experience, your feelings about money and women making and managing more money.
Oh, here we go. It's like a wind-up toy. So just watch.
I'm like, go for it. I'm here to listen to all of it.
Can't stop her now. Okay, so let me start with my belief. My belief is that wealth and money in the hands of good humans will make the world a better place. But I extend it into women. I really believe wealthy women will ultimately change the world. Give us income, give us access and wealth, and we will do the things that have not been done before. We will pay attention to the needs of others the way it's never been done before. I believe our superpower as women is love and compassion and eyes and hearts that truly see people. That is our God-given gift. And so give us wealth, abundance, we will do really good things with that. Generally, I know there's going to be exception to the rule. Don't come at me, but I'm saying generally, that's my belief. Now, here's what isn't working well. I think this is an important piece to the puzzle. We're seeing women say online, we're normalizing wealth in the hands of women. And we're seeing that done through ego and exaggeration and embellishment. So that can look like Stripe account screenshots, people telling you how much they made last month. Here I did a launch, I made $1 million. So here's the thing. I really am grateful that we have the capacity to do those things, and that is happening. I celebrate that. I'm not standing in the way of that at all. More, please. Yet that's not normalizing wealth for women by any stretch of the imagination. You don't see wealthy men and, in fact, truly wealthy women sharing on their Instagram accounts how much money they made last month. Why? Because they actually are wealthy. They actually have wealth and embodied wealth. They don't need to prove it to anybody. So normalizing it is not the way we're doing it currently. I call it baby money, new money. It's new wealthy women who are just so excited. I was her, so I can call it out because I've been there, done that. Thank goodness most of it was before social media, but I understand it, but yet we can do a whole lot better. So that's an important piece to just discuss, because I feel like what we're witnessing and seeing isn't necessarily the example that I would love us all to run with. Now, what does money mean for us? It's ultimate liberation. It's the ability to be and do and have. It's the ability to help your neighbor. It's the ability to be someone that truly not only blesses your life, but blesses the life of others. There is a story that has touched my heart from the moment I heard it, and I have wanted to be her ever since. I remember I was at a personal growth conference, and this woman was on stage, and she shared how she couldn't pay her phone bill. She had just come to the United States. She had just immigrated. She was doing anything and everything to find income. And her church, the pastor of her church, called and said, "Hey, I'd like you to come to my office." She comes in the office. There's an envelope. It's blank, but it has $200 in there, which was the exact amount of money she needed to pay her phone bill. She said as she sat there, her initial feeling is total embarrassment, shame, like, oh my gosh, they probably had a meeting about me and everybody put money in a pot and like they're talking about me. I'm so embarrassed. I couldn't pay my. So that was the initial response. But as she walked away, there were things that she learned immediately through that example that changed her life and ultimately changed mine. First thing is there was no name. Nobody took credit for that money that was left for her. That to me is wealth. Second thing is she's like, to be able to accept that means I'm also able to become that. And so her goal in life was to become a $200 person, that she was able to bless and sprinkle $200 out to as many people as possible in her lifetime. And that really has been something that I have built into my life, where I don't talk about it much, but if I hear someone needs something, I love being that anonymous person that blesses somebody else. That's wealth. The surprise and delight of being able to really relish in this gorgeous world and life, eating good food, traveling to beautiful places and sleeping in lush beds, taking your children on trips and gathering memories, being able to have choice, being able to have peace. Because I remember when I first understood financial freedom, and it wasn't until just a few years ago. My financial journey has been rocky, to say the least. I was $100,000 in debt in 2019, making 20 would be the low end. Let's call it $30,000 to $40,000 a month. Okay. And 2019, that's a lot of money. Okay. Comparative to today. How can someone be $100,000 in debt making that much money? That's a really great question. The only thing I can tell you is that I didn't understand how to be in relationship with it. And a lot of my past traumas had come forward where as soon as it touched me, I wanted to get rid of it because I didn't know how to hold it. And I felt like if I have it, I'm going to turn evil. If I have it, it's going to change me. All these seeds that were planted in my life throughout my life. And so rather than deal with those stories and things that I had embodied, it was just get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it, which led to a lot of debt. I am here to say that once I understood and changed my story and relationship with money, it was months later that I paid off $100,000 in that debt and saved $100,000 in my bank account. I tell this story for a couple of reasons: to show you that things can change quickly when it comes to money. Money is everywhere. It is infinite. There's not so many dollar bills that have been printed. And so it's just a matter of who can gather the most. It just doesn't work that way. It's an energy, really. We look at our bank accounts as though that has substance. You can't go to the bank right now and actually withdraw that. Like it's a number. We give so much power over to those things. And when you learn to be in relationship with it, which I'm happy to teach and share, everything starts to shift in your life. And I really pray and hope that more women do this work to be able to have these experiences where you have true financial freedom and that feeling that I was able to experience when I experienced it for the first time.
This is something that is such a part of my journey and lifting up and giving more of a platform to the women who are further along in it than I am and really embody it. And this is something 2024, 2025, I've gone deeper and deeper. And I love everything you're saying of, yeah, it's okay to show the receipts and be excited, but that doesn't always equate to what's on the other side of that receipt and that launch number. There's something so much deeper. And if you are really feeling this struggle, this kind of like block with money, or even when you get it, you don't know where it goes, do the work. You don't have to get there quickly. You don't have to worry about the income right now. Figure out how you feel with it. Do the kind of therapeutic work to understand your relationship with it and let that help to guide, like you're saying, so that you can make those changes. But if you try to make huge money changes before you really look inward about how you feel about it, especially as women, I don't know if you follow Tori Dunlap, her first 100K, but I just read her book and I love her take because she is very anti-patriarch, which I relate to. Take it down from inside it. And so that's her stance. And she is so vocal about the fact that as women, we haven't been taught financial literacy in the same way men have. And everybody, if it's not taught at home, a lot of people are lacking financial literacy. But she really talks about how there's so much shame around not knowing something no one taught us. And just more women like you, Jen. There's a lot of women in my circle I've been fortunate to be around lately that are doing the work to put more money in the hands of more women, but to help them manage it well and fix the relationship with it well as well. Which to me is, like you said, a wind-up doll that could just keep going. And I'm just so grateful that it's becoming more and more a part of the conversation, and more women especially are willing to talk about it. And not just here's how you save, but here's how you invest, and here's how you make profit, and here's how you run a business. So I really appreciate you even sharing the story of your debt and your relationship with money.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago. And yeah, it's so interesting. There's a couple things that I pick up with you that I think is worth sharing is we think a certain amount is going to be the cure-all and end-all. So a lot of us now talk about $1 million business. And I remember when I hit my first million, I remember being at the top. You talked about climbing the hill. I remember being at the top of that mountain. I'd gone to the summit. I was like, here we are. And then you look and there's all these mountains still left to climb, bigger peaks, more treacherous journeys. It wasn't actually that everything was solved because of a certain amount of money. As a matter of fact, there was more challenge, more required of me with that level of success. When we ask for more, we ask for more. And I think this is an important piece. Like if you're listening, listen up. You can't say, I want more wealth and expect it not to come with more challenge, more stretchy leadership. There's things we have to learn to be able to hold it, because getting it is one thing, holding it is another. And that's what I had to learn. I had like at this point now, I think I'm over 200 consecutive months. So do the math of that. That's 200 months in a row. There's not a single month that is an exception to this where I've made multi-5 to multi-6 figures in income, money in the bank. That's not sales, it's income. Now that's incredible, but that doesn't mean for 200 months I've had all this money just, you see those pictures of women jumping in the bed and the dollar bills are floating all around her and she's in the bathtub and the bathtub's filled. Listen, that hasn't been my scenario. And it taught me that the amount of money we're making really doesn't have a lot of relevance. I have private clients who are making $250,000 to $300,000 a year and have so much profit, cash flow, fun money. They are living their $1 million lifestyle. I also have clients come to me with 8 and 9 figure businesses. This is no joke. And literally are scraping pennies to be able to pay their team, their business expenses. It's not the amount, it's who we are. So learning to, and this is kind of going back to even our discussion of like when we're talking about gratitude for the life we have currently, if you can learn to have gratitude for the money you have now and be a steward to it now, even if it's not where you want it to be, even if you have a tremendous amount of debt, I get it, I was there. But I had to learn to be grateful for what was coming in so that I could be, I would say, entrusted with more. Who deserves to have $1 million if 100,000 is never good enough? And this is where I go back to a relationship with money. It's very symbolic to how you treat a romantic partner. So let me, if you don't mind, I'd love to share this. So imagine you're with a romantic partner and you're constantly looking at others. You're out on a date with him and you're looking at all the other men in the room and you're just like, and you're swooning and gawking over the other men in the room. We do that with money. Money is in front of us and we're like, yeah, but she's making this and look at that. And so it's sitting there in front of us and it's like, I can't get her attention. I just want her to love me. I want her to see me. So that's how the money feels in relationship with us. How can that grow and prosper? Impossible. Also, we can be in relationships, and this is another scenario where we're constantly comparing. Why can't you be more like that person? Why can't you be more like so-and-so over here? He does this for his wife. Well, money's sitting there and we're saying, why can't we have more money, more income? Why? It's not good enough. How can you grow abundance in that environment? It's impossible. So really, I'd love for the listeners to think about the way they are in relationship with their money and almost bring it alongside of if you were in a romantic relationship with money. So put a face on that dollar bill of maybe your partner or your dream partner, and you were treating that person the way you're treating money right now. Would that relationship last? Would it deepen? Would it have love and connection and intimacy and beautiful, deep conversations? Would it grow and flourish? And if you can say, yes, amazing, keep doing what you're doing. But most people would say, oops, I am being like that. And that shifted. This sounds so silly, but it works. I remember realizing this and coming up with this sort of analogy in my mind to coach and train me through my money obstacles. And I, within 24 hours, had a money miracle, my first one that I can remember. I'm sure I had many before, but the one that really impacted me, where I had a company call me and say, we owe you $14,000. This was within 24 hours of changing my dynamic. And I remember the feeling of money miracles in that moment being like, what? And they said, yeah, we're depositing into your bank. Like you didn't know. Initially, when they said that, there goes the shame. How did I not know this? I'm not good with money. Like all those stories. I was like, nope. That's not how I'm moving forward. I made that decision yesterday and I was able to accept that. And that was literally the catalyst for me. After that, there was no stopping me. I thought I'm going to be the best partner to the money and abundance that's coming in my life that has no other choice but to feel so wonderful in relationship with me. And that has been really, I would say, one of the key components to feeling and being a wealthy woman.
It's so tangible. Like that is something that gives it so much perspective, but also the action and the feeling behind it. Give it a name. Give your bank account a name. Instead of being like, oh, that's my, XYZ bank. It's like, that's Sally. We're going to go have a date later and really figure out what this relationship looks like for the next quarter. And again, bring some fun and silliness to it when it can feel so heavy and shameful and just uncomfortable.
Yeah, flirt with it a little bit. Say, like, one of my favorite affirmations is show me how good this gets to be. Like, have that flirty persona to yourself of, even if it's in the red, you're like, this all sounds really great, Jen and Teresa, but my bank account is negative, blah, blah, blah. But think about if you were in a relationship with someone and they were having a down time, would you kick them when they were down? Or would you say, let's figure this out. Let's get out of this situation. I'm with you. We're going to figure out the solution. That's what you would do. Try it on. Just flirt with my idea for a minute and then come in the DMs and tell me all the money miracles that you're about to have because you will. And again, it's sometimes just trying something new. And it's not necessarily the right answer for you because your journey is your journey, but sometimes interrupting our loops and patterns with a different perspective is the very antidote to having a different experience in our life.
We're going to hit stop here in a few minutes, and I'm going to go binge more of Becoming Iconic because I don't want to stop talking to you. Like, it's what I love too, is I'm somebody who I'm doing the work. I've done a lot of the work. I have a long way to go. We all do. We always will. But I listen to you talk about things that I have invested in learning and reshaping. And I always come out learning something new, another trick, another side, a couple degrees to the left of perspective to take on it. And I see you living it out. Like, that is this podcast is I want to talk to the people. I see the fruits of your labor and your philosophies. And even right now, just your shining face, right? Like, I can tell that you're lit up by this, and not just because of what it's done in your life, but because it is helping thousands of women every single day. And I appreciate you being here, sharing it with us so much.
Thank you. And that's the truth. This isn't a Jen story. Like 9 figures in sales with my clients. That's not all me. I'll just give a real life example. Just happened last week. I had someone jump into one of my beautiful, like I would call it my signature offer, where I love to be. And she has made no money. This is a risky investment when you don't even have a business, just an idea. But she decided she believed enough in herself to get in the room. Friends, 2 weeks into being in this room, she made $66,000. 2 weeks before, she had no idea what business language was. She's like, I just had this idea. I think I want to. But by immersing herself, taking risk, being and acting on belief, that happened. You can't make sense of some of these things. Somebody's, well, what did she do? It's not like an A plus B equals C. It's a woman being audacious. It's about a woman saying, I know I can do it. I'm a sure bet. And if you have that type of swagger and belief and conviction in what you're doing, this becomes not a Jen story, not a Teresa story, not even my client story. It becomes a you story. You become that one that is a life giver and a hope dealer to all the people out there who are watching. So it's almost a call to action for your listeners too, of like, don't sit on this information, go live this information, because there are people watching you and you can literally change lives just by walking the talk and modeling the things that we are so privileged. Like, this is a privilege to be in conversation like this. What a gift you're giving all of your listeners by having this podcast. It is such a gift. And now it's like our way of showing gratitude to you, Teresa, is taking this and improving the way we live our lives.
Yes. And that ripple effect of I'm learning it from others, I'm sharing what I'm learning and the way I'm thinking about it, and keep it going. Well, I have a few last questions for you, Jen. You mentioned your mornings in solitude, learning with your coaches, with podcasts. What are you currently obsessed with when it comes to things filling your cup?
2 things. My muse right now is definitely Emma Grede. As a business mogul, someone who I deeply respect. She just launched a podcast. It's excellent. I gobble up everything Emma. So, if I could get in a room, and I will be in a room with her, I'm saying that is someone who really inspires me. She inspires me because she's convicted, she's audacious, she's multi-passionate, multi-talented. She's a mama 4, running big, massive companies. Just like, more Emma, please. That's my North Star right now. And then the other sort of, I would say, pleasure in my life, I am a sucker for indulging myself in luxury skincare. I love skincare. And I was raised by a mom, and I also haven't been blessed with great skin most of my life. But my mom always said, spend your money on your hair and your skin. It's the first impression. So I was raised by someone who really prioritized that. And also it needed to be a priority in my life because I have had acne for as long as I can remember. But right now I found these products that literally fill me and soak me in joy every morning and every evening. It's like this ritual. I feel good. I think, I contemplate, I celebrate. It's just like this time in my day where I just feel so centered and so present with myself. So those would be the 2 things right now.
I love it so much. I want to know, when it comes to, I know we're like in summer right now. This episode is going to come out at the very end of summer. But when it comes to summertime and just the changing of seasons and being in this season, What are you obsessed with? What makes it feel like summer? What do you love to do?
So summer to me is about a different routine and schedule. As I talked about that earlier in the podcast, I have summer work schedule and winter work schedule. So I love to give myself, I condense my days where I have longer mornings, longer evenings, because as someone who lives in 4 seasons, soaking in every last drop of vitamin D and warm mornings, warm evenings, sign me up. I'm a warm weather girl that doesn't live in warm weather all the time. So that is something. It's like that ability again to curate the way I live out my weeks. The other thing is, as a mom with kids home, and that's a whole other complexity. Like when they're in school, it's one thing, but now they're home. And so that mom guilt can creep in very quickly. If I've been working all day, what are they up to? Are they okay? So I've done some planning as well, where one day a week they get to pick an adventure, and an adventure where I've set myself up for success. They know, like my kids are so good because I have incorporated them in my business that they know I'll probably be on my phone. I'll be answering things from clients, but that doesn't mean I'm not present with them and we're not having fun. I'm able to blend those worlds. And I do feel like I do that fairly well. So that's another component to summer, is just that kind of complexity of dancing and like deeply dancing. You're in the cha-cha-cha with kids home and these businesses that deserve my attention too.
I love it. Jen, this has been amazing. I know that everyone listening wants more of you. How can they be in your world? How can they connect and work with you?
Thank you so much for that opportunity. I love Instagram. It is my creative playground. So Becoming Iconic is the handle where I talk mostly about business and scaling and leadership and sales and all the things. So if you want that type of version of me, that's the place to play. And then I have the Iconic magazine. So it's Iconic magazine __ at the end. And that handle is where you're going to be inspired through luxury and really soaking in an iconic life and business. So I infuse lifestyle, business, showcase the most incredible women that everybody needs to know. It has really been an absolute joy and passion to bring that media company to life. So over there, as well as the podcast, the Iconic podcast, that's a great thing to plug into and go on your hot girl summer walks with the Iconic podcast and Becoming Obsessed and hang out with me over there. That's the way that I would say plug in. It's abundant for you. It's all free. The magazine, the digital copy is complimentary for now. The newsletter is complimentary. The podcast is complimentary. So there's certainly a plethora of opportunities to be immersed in my world. And then, of course, they can come play and explore if they desire.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jen, for coming on the Becoming Obsessed podcast.
Thanks for having me, Teresa. You're the best.
Now, I know you're still listening because you don't want this party to end, and neither do we. Come hang out with us, like Jen said, on Instagram. Send us a DM, send us a voice note, text this episode to a friend who needs a little more obsession and is becoming iconic herself. Now, let's go get obsessed.